Hello everybody, very warm welcome back to our Champions League coverage live from our studio in London after our roadshow at the Emirates yesterday. Good to have you still with us. We've been teasing a big announcement on the show. We can now bring you that. We're going to bring you the US men's national team squad for the upcoming CONCACAF Nations League games. So, as expected, here's a look at that whole list. It is led by the in-form Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Anthony Jedi Robinson. For the first time since the 2022 World Cup, you've got a call-up for Josh Sargent, playing at Norwich, of course. He's got 12 goals in the Championship this season. Other notable inclusions in this list that you're seeing here: Tyler Adams, Gio Reyna, of course, both of them have missed big chunks of time with injury this season, but Gregg Berhalter deciding to include them in this list for such a big tournament as the one that's coming up in Dallas very shortly. Well, next week is that CONCACAF Nations League finals in Dallas, the United States. They are the defending two-time champions, and joining us now to discuss his selection for that tournament is the US head coach, Gregg Berhalter. It's an honour to have you with us, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate the time, first of all.
Hey everyone, good to see you. Excited for some good games this afternoon.
Yes, so are we. Talk to us about your list, though, obviously, because this is going to cause, there'll be a big reaction to this back home in the US. Thierry, you're obviously formerly have been involved with the national team, your time with Belgium. You know how difficult this can be, kind of making these selections, who's available to you, who isn't. Was there anything that was particularly difficult for you this time around, Greg, in terms of a decision that you had to make?
This was probably the hardest roster we'd ever had to pick, based on the players in form, doing really well at their clubs and performing at high levels. So it was really difficult. When I think about some of the names left off, Haji Wright's doing great in the championship at Coventry, 13 goals this year. Brendan Vasquez is doing really good at Monterrey. Ali Zendejas is doing well. Brendan Aronson has been at the World Cup. We had to leave him off. So it just shows you how difficult the selection is these days with the United States national team.
Greg, I have a question for you. We're obviously in the same situation because I have to prepare the Olympic Games. You have to prepare. We all know what's coming after the big one. If I can say, we're not going to go too far into that. We know you have the Copa America and obviously the Nations League. But can you explain to people how important also the chemistry of the group is? Not only having the best players, but players that can understand each other and also accept the role that they can have for the team.
That's vital. Team connection, team chemistry, guys supporting each other is absolutely vital in success of the team, not only on the field, but also off the field. When you're in these big tournaments, you're together for over a month, and you really want to make sure you get that team chemistry part of it right. An interesting thing, Thierry, I was just reading the Arsene Wenger book, and he was talking about your team, the Invincibles, and just how tight that group was and how focused you were on actually achieving something that season was remarkable. So it shows you how important that team chemistry is.
Greg, can I just ask you about, you've got obviously the Nations League coming, the Copa America is not too far away, but then after that there's a big lead into the World Cup with no competitive games. I mean, what's your thought process around that now? You can make the national team as competitive as possible in the World Cup without those competitive games.
We're going to have to use high-profile friendlies, Jamie, to really get it right. And we're going to have to use these knockout competitions like Nations League, like Copa America, like Gold Cup in 2025 to actually keep improving. We think the opportunity to play teams like Colombia and Brazil before Copa America will be important for us, because ultimately we're going to have to learn how to beat the best teams on American soil in big stadiums. And that's what our focus is. So, looking at high-profile friendlies and knockout competitions to do that.
Hi, Greg. You mentioned how hard it is to pick this one particular squad. Obviously, Tyler Adams and Gio Reyna have not had that much minutes. How do you decide in bringing them into the team?
Yeah, so we've been monitoring Tyler really closely. I got a chance to speak to his coach 2 days ago to see where he's at. And, he's making a ton of progress with them. He's hoping to get him some game time today. So he is progressing to the point where he can make an impact. And for us, we're looking at, we know he's not going to be a starter in these two games, but can we get him back with the group? We talked about already that chemistry, leadership. He brings both of those things. And can we get him back with the group and potentially playing some minutes? With Gio, it's a little bit of a different case. He's performed extremely well for the national team, even though he hasn't made his impact yet as far as that like he would want to. but we still think he's a valuable member of the team, and we want to hopefully showcase him to make an impact as well.
Greg, I've another one. How big do you think is going to be, or how much of a threat does Jamaica carry? Because we had Tillman the other day, and he didn't know some of the players that play for Jamaica. I'm sure you're going to remind him who is playing for Jamaica, because that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, it is going to be difficult. And, I don't think he meant any disrespect, but, there are some names that, every household isn't familiar with. But they also have names like Leon Bailey, Michael Antonio, Cordova Reed. It's a quality side. So, we're going to prepare the team in the best way. We know it's a really physical team. We know it's a fast counterattacking team. And we're going to be prepared. We know we can cause them problems as well. So for us, it's about playing our game, really being aggressive, and trying to get the win and move on to the final.
Greg, there is one question that we, of course, all want to hear the answer to. A big game coming up very shortly. U23 teams, the French national team playing the US national team. What's the date? When's it happening?
It's going to be on the 20. I need to check. My mind is not even there. That's the second game in Sochaux.
But how's it going to go, Greg? What's going to happen?
It's going to be a great game. Speaking about picking squads, I don't know how Thierry picks his squad. I just heard about his overage players, and man, you're spoiled there, bud, with the guys that you can choose.
Not yet.
It'll be fun. It'll be exciting. Normally, right, we talk about expectations to win. Normally, France should win this game, so no pressure, Thierry.
It's
Greg,
on the 25th, Monday. I have to check my calendar.
Greg, how excited are you about watching Dest and Tillman tonight in the Champions League?
I loved the last leg, Dortmund-PSV, or PSV-Dortmund was a great match. High intensity, you see a bunch of players cramping at the end from both teams, but I thought both of our players performed really well. And, I just sent them a note saying, let's go, let's get it done, boys, because it's a great matchup. But really excited to see those guys. They've had great seasons so far. I think undefeated thus far, so it will be nice to see what happens.
Well, it was wonderful to have you with us. Thank you so much for allowing us to do the announcement here on our air. We do appreciate that, and I will see you out there in Dallas, hopefully.
You bet. Great seeing everyone.
Good luck.
Thank you. All the best. All the best.
Thank you, guys.
OK, well, along with Gregg Berhalter and the US Men's National Team, we are also going to be in Dallas next week. As I mentioned, you can stream every single game of the CONCACAF Nations League finals live on Paramount+. Our coverage begins next Thursday, that is March 21st, with the game that Thierry mentioned, USA versus Jamaica at 6 p.m. Eastern.
25th.
Meanwhile, yes, sir, how'd you forget? Meanwhile, today, 4 teams still very much alive for the last 2 quarter-final berths. But who will be in Friday's draw? Dortmund or PSV, Atletico Madrid or Inter Milan?